KLEE drew a great deal, and this is one of the secrets of his profundity. The notes he took from nature before the motif and according to the representative language reveal in themselves a very sharp personality. The cross-hatched linework, as if covered in frost, is as personal as that of his non-figurative drawings, in which, through thread-like strokes that sometimes resemble the cells of a honeycomb, the artist creates a universe of his own. Here and there, we see him experiment with a hieroglyph or some synthetic meditation. These signs, however, are never fixed, which is why the writing especially seems a bit like a labyrinth, but one in which new meanings can soon be glimpsed. Such drawings possess a rhythm formed by associations, oppositions, balances, and ruptures. In the parable, we encounter what we could call the sense of the arrows. Indeed, the arrow frequently appears in KLEE's drawings, in which each line refers us to the inner life of the being and the elements. The fitting of houses in the city, the trail of fish in the water, the fluttering of vegetation, the pulsing of a flame, the gliding of a wave, the formation of a crystal, the paths, the crossroads, the comings and goings. Everything that poses an incessant question to man, KLEE, by giving it form, manages to suggest a perpetual activity. To this organized drawing, which he enhances through blues and greys, the painter gives space and vibration to the colored planes. He was convinced that nature is not on the exterior, but in the depths, so that the colors on the surface are the expression of this internal force. How can one not be captivated by these ranges of lush tones, interrupted by vermilions that tend from orange to mauve? By these golden browns, these cadmiums, these light lilacs, punctuated with bistre marks. At times, KLEE has a fauve palette, but it is not strident. The coloring also evokes in the muted reds and greens the soft glow of the moon, which, like a dream of the sun, reigns over the world of dreams, modulating the values from extreme white to extreme black on the board. By superimposing luminous prisms, as in a double exposure, the painter creates distance and evokes agitation. KLEE is in everything he does, not superficially, through some projection of his own physical image, but much more profoundly. I would say that, having seized something of nature's first palpitation, it is within himself that he reveals to us the infusion that trembles at the bottom of the waters, the peak that fades away, the plant that sprouts. He had the power to give lines to that which has no contours, to that which flees, passes, the flower, the foam, the smoke. Far from being akin to manufacturing, the work was always a genesis for him. He recognized that the painter does not logically strive to execute a painting. One gets to know, he said, how to understand a certain subject by its roots. One learns the prehistory of the visible, but that is not yet art. On the higher level, this is where the mysterious begins, and KLEE comes to this confession of extreme importance. It will not be possible to replace intuition. Although he devoted himself to extremely refined schematic work, he had the good fortune to forget any method while executing his creation. Undoubtedly, in certain paintings, the pedagogue he was for more than 20 years shows the tip of the compass. But very quickly, inspiration spreads poetry everywhere. "To be abstract with memories," he wrote in his diary. "No painter of the last 30 years has shown himself to be so secretly communicative in his art, so seductive, and a messenger of such rare emotion." Emmy Werner Hamann, his main biographer, says, "He was the primitive of a new sensibility." Kandinsky was a Russian painter and art theorist, one of the most important pioneers of abstract art. Under the impact of an exhibition of French Impressionists in Moscow, in which one of Monet's haystacks deeply impressed him, he abandoned a promising university career as a law professor and left for Munich to study painting. In 1901, he was one of the founders of an avant-garde society called Phalanx, which was the main German proponent of Jugendstil. In 1902, he joined the Berlin Secession. Between 1903 and 1908, he traveled extensively throughout Western Europe and Africa. His paintings at the turn of the century combined characteristics of Art Nouveau with reminiscences of Russian folk art in a style of color similar to that of the Fauvists. In 1908, Kandinsky returned to Munich and began to eliminate the figurative element from his works, thereby arriving at pure abstraction in a series of compositions, improvisations, and impressions made between 1910 and 1913. The best collection of works from this period is at the Lenbach House in Munich. Kandinsky himself stated that his understanding of the power of non-figurative art came one evening when, upon entering his studio, he did not recognize one of his own paintings that was turned upside down, seeing in it a work of extraordinary beauty, shining with an inner radiance. From 1911, the artist was one of the main exponents of Der Blaue Reiter, the Blue Rider, editing an almanac with Franz Marc under the same name as the group. In 1914, he returned to Russia and received several academic titles. Discontented, however, with the new ideas that subordinated the fine arts to industrial design, he left Russia in 1921 and took a teaching position at the Bauhaus, where he remained until 1933, when the school was closed. In 1927, he became a German citizen. In 1933, he left Germany for France and settled in Neuilly-sur-Seine. In 1939, he became a French citizen. Kandinsky was, for both his pictorial work and his writings, one of the most influential artists of his generation. He was at the forefront of those who investigated the expressive attributes of artistic materials without reference to natural appearances. His progress toward abstraction occurred in conformity and resonance with his philosophical views on the nature of art, which were influenced by theosophy and mysticism. He did not completely repudiate representation, but asserted that the pure artist should express only inner and essential feelings, ignoring the superficial and the fortuitous. His main written works, which present his theories of abstract pictorial composition, are Über das Geistige in der Kunst, Concerning the Spiritual in Art, 1912, Rückblicke, Reminiscences, 1913, Punkt und Linie zu Fläche, Point and Line to Plane, published in 1926 as a Bauhaus textbook,